Hello, hello, hello. I'm Peter Stewart. Welcome to today's episode of Get a Better Broadcast podcast and video voice. And we're talking about marking up scripts. Yesterday we were looking at marking up for emphasis. I use the term loosely because emphasis is more than just stressing a word, because that suggests lots of volume and pushing, which is rather aggressive. Yeah, and we don't want to do that. We want to do something which is a bit more subtle, like I did there with the word subtle, yeah, which is usually why I like to use the word lift or suppress, because it's more than just the volume of a word. Anyway, we'll come to emphasis later on. I love talking about emphasis or stress, intonation, that kind of thing. Inflection is something a little bit different. I mean, where emphasis or stress is the basic thumping of a word, inflection is the gentler or often more effective tonal lift that I just did there. And it could sometimes be within a word, yeah, as I did with within. Yeah, did you hear that? It wasn't just within a word, it was within. It kind of goes up and down inside that word. So if you're talking about emphasis, as I said yesterday, that could be marked with an underlining. If you're talking about inflection, maybe an arrow through the word going up. Yeah, as I said a few days ago, it's down to you how you mark up your script, so long as you know what the different arrows, underlinings, circles, and so on actually mean, so you can immediately interpret them. If you look in the show notes, you'll see a script that I've got there. It's only 3 lines, but let's see what we're going to be doing with this script as far as inflection goes. Now, obviously, in the show notes, what I can't do is actually put in the arrows and the circles and things like that, because the show notes on the various apps for podcasts don't allow that. So let me talk you through it. Now, usually at the end of a sentence, and possibly slightly more at the end of a story, our general intonation goes down a note. Goes down a note, like that. And that gives a degree of conclusion and finality, that the idea is complete. But sometimes a phrase or thought continues. The next story might be linked in some way, perhaps another angle on the same general theme. And so it wouldn't be correct to start with a completely reset pitch. The listener will have presumed you finished the idea, only to hear you continue. It wouldn't be a kind of reassuring listen. It would be slightly jarring. So to indicate that on a page, you can use a straight arrow to remind yourself that there's kind of more to come, that you need to pick up on that story in a beat, in half a second's time. As I say, the amount that you drop the pitch, did you hear what I did then? I was going to continue that thought. Yeah, there was more to come in a few seconds' time. And I didn't go time, which would have suggested finality. I ended up on more of a home, standard, generic pitch, because then I was able to continue, as I say, on the same pitch. It's subtle, isn't it? But it makes such a difference. And the amount you drop the pitch depends on whether you just completed an idea, or maybe the whole piece of copy or news story or bulletin or whatever it happens to be. So save the biggest drops for the true end of the piece, like I did there. Look in your show notes, you'll see that 3-line script. And notice the word big and notice the word midnight. Okay. Now you could read the script quite generically. Stewart's big holiday weekend sale. It's so big, we need 3 days to fit it all in. Ends holiday Monday at midnight. Yeah? Big. Midnight. But actually, I think we can do something a bit more subtle, a bit more nuanced, a bit more conversational, a bit more creative, a bit more ear-catching with some of those words by putting a little bit of inflection within those 2 words specifically. Yeah? Stewart's big holiday weekend sale. It's so big, we need 3 days to fit it all in. Ends holiday Monday at midnight. It's so big, midnight. It's so big, not it's so big, it's so big suggests there's something a little bit more going on. It's a bit more subtle, it's a bit more creative, it's a bit more original, it's a bit more you, it shows a bit more personality, it shows you're a human being. Ends holiday Monday at midnight. Again, a bit more human. Anyway, hope that makes sense. Hopefully you've got an idea of a little bit about inflection within words and also perhaps how to mark them up as well. Tomorrow on Get a Better Broadcast Podcast and Video Voice. Do you want to know how to mark up for questions? From London, I'm Peter Stewart.